Hey, all y'all. So I'm me, and I'm over here in the psychology department, and then I decided I was an artificial intelligence specialist, so I put it on my business cards. I went to marketing and said, can I have it on my business cards? So where all do you teach? I'm Jim. Who's everybody else? Yeah, are you teachers? And where are you teaching them? What's your name?
Sociology.
Oh, sociology. I thought you looked familiar. Yeah, what's your name?
Nick.
Nick. Hey, Nick.
Frank and CIS.
Nick, Frank, CIS. Nick,
George and philosophy.
Oh, philosophy, yeah, I remember the other day, George. Nick, Frank, George, CIS, philosophy, sociology, and
Nicole, second day of work, new director of distance learning.
wow.
She's new to our department. Yay,
Yay,
Nicole!
Nicole, yay. And Anwar, what's your name?
Anwar, I'm Anwar. I'm in the science department. Teach biochemistry and biology.
Yay. Oh, so you can tell me about this one slide if it makes any sense. So let's see if this works, shall we? Ooh, it did. So far it worked. Oh boy. I don't know if it's going to let us in. One never knows. Any clue why a particular website might not be working? Okay. It should have me already signed on.
Are you in Chrome?
It looks like I'm on this ancient technology called Internet Explorer, maybe?
Is that Microsoft Edge?
Yeah.
Do you know what you?
It is Edge.
Edge? No,
Right.
creepy. And were you,
We're in Chrome, so you can open up another tab. So click on Chrome, and then see if it's already in there. Chat GPT. Okay.
yeah, it's
So why
not,
is it all?
it's not opening up this other program. which is- I mean, it's trying to get there, it's just not showing it. That's cool. Okay, so we introduce yourself to all the humans?
Hi, I'm Dulce Vasquez. I'm from the biology department. I teach anatomy and physiology. Full-time
Yay.
faculty, first semester.
Okay,
Hi, I'm also full-time faculty first semester. I teach in the business and accounting, and my name is Mike.
hey, Mike. Okay, so here's the thing. Do this on your own time then. I wonder if we've got the whiteboard. Whiteboards are good.
So go back to.
You'll start one up, right?
I want to touch the screen because I'm just so used to life on the phone.
Oh, man. And this is like some sort of foreign.
So it's
body.
whiteboard, so you can draw on it. You can.
What happens if I type on it?
I think you can touch the screen and do stuff. You know what I mean? Stand here.
Probably that screen, right? Or I can do a text box and then just. I just wanted to have a thing.
There's a pen icon, then you'll be able to write.
Do I have to use this one?
Hold on. No.
Okay, I'm gonna use my friend. Yikes. Isn't
All right,
the
so-
smartboard standardly up around here? There we go.
Yes.
Okay, so on your own time at some point, since who knows why the site didn't open up, go to this. I highly recommend going there. Go to suno.ai. One of the most important things we're doing right now, as far as I'm concerned with AI, is playing with it. Just play with it, get familiar with it, don't be freaked out about it, and what have you. So, what is it with this puppy? Anyway, go to Suno, and what happens there is you can just put prompts in and say, generate lyrics of the following type about the following story for me. Now make a country song out of it or make a heavy metal song out of it, and it'll create a song for you, and it's amazing. It's completely amazing. And so musicians are way bummed out about this. They're really worried, and there's lawsuits everywhere. Ideogram is fantastic for creating pictures. So, and you can create realistic pictures of all different types. These are ways like here, the last, everyone should get on the AI interested newsletter, and I'll include you on the distribution. And then I used Ideogram to create a picture of a robot reading books, because that's what that issue was about. And there I used Ideogram to create that image of a student talking to 4 prominent psychologists. That's what this is about. And then here's a key thing. I identified it as me and Ideogram. We made this together because this is a big question. Tomorrow, I know we made it a big question, like, where do we draw the line? What's creativity? We're starting to ask ourselves about us as humans, you know, as AI becomes conscious, what's consciousness, and all that sort of stuff. So the reason I talk about that is because we're in the midst of a humongous paradigm shift. And we'll get into it. So this seminar is AI as Productivity Multiplier, and so I'll look at these areas and they overlap, so we'll see where they go, and let's definitely make it a discussion. So things you've done with it, say, hey, well, I tried this the other day and it worked great, or I tried this and it didn't work great. There's a lot of engines out there besides just ChatGPT. That's the one we hear about the most, but there's a ton. Claude is one of my favorites. Yesterday, ChatGPT said, I can't generate this for you because my data doesn't go far enough back. I mean, it goes too far back. I don't know what happened in the last 3 months. But then I went to Claude, and in 6 seconds, it did a really complicated thing for me using really recent information. So feel free to go around all kinds of what we put them all into the category of generative AI. So there's a major, so let's look at that. Like, we need to change our minds. And what I'm really working with now, and maybe you can help me figure this out, is how to change students' minds about how vitally important it is that they get familiar with AI and become AI proficient. So then we'll look real quickly at the pace of change, and then get into those 3: planning, grading, administration, and then go from there. So let's look at this crazy pace of change, which Anwar, I hope you're going to help me with. So Facebook, 100 million users, 4 years. ChatGPT, 6 weeks. There's just a sample of the beginning of the comparison. We invented the transistor, and now we've shipped that many, which I believe comes out to like 1 trillion per second. And the reason is there's so many transistors on a given computer chip, and we're cranking out the computer chips like crazy, which means every time we do that, we're cranking out 1 zillion transistors. But the numbers are big. Here, Anwar, rescue me. So there's a microbiology of a protein, and protein's like what builds everything that's alive, right? Plants, humans, all the alive.
Does all the functioning in your cells.
Everything, there we go. So it used to take somebody with a PhD 1 year to map out the microbiology of a protein. And then 1.5 years ago, 2 dudes at DeepMind in England, they mapped out 200 million proteins in 2 months. So that shows you the kind of acceleration we're talking about. So there's 200 million PhD programs. Bada bing, bada boom. But now people don't have to map it out. What they can do is take the map and start creating drugs and curing diseases. And so it just accelerates everything way down the road. And this is the kind of thing that makes me what's called a techno-optimist. Other people would look at that and say, wow, we can also create diseases. So there are doomers and techno-optimists, and we're at the far ends. Most people are in the middle somewhere. I like being like just a wide-eyed optimist because it's so much fun.
So if you allow me, I would say just one thing about the previous one. So if you look at this one here, here's double helical DNA. and there is a protein structure that binds to it, does something to it. So doing that structure of protein took years, if it was possible at all. Latest AI technology could predict that structure. I've been teaching this for years. You can do the protein structure just by looking at it, but now it's doable with great accuracy. So just all thanks to AI technologies. However, there is a thing. Although we say that that protein would have this structure, right? AI would predict that, but that's not necessarily the case. Under different conditions inside the cell, it may flip to another structure to do its function. So it has to be taken with a grain of salt.
So we have another layer with the context.
Correct.
The context is
one protein could have multiple structures.
Yeah. And likewise, they've had really helpful, really amazingly complex mathematical models that help understand climate change. But now they feed it into AI and it comes out as a picture. I went to this amazing seminar where they were showing, and I was like, oh, I get it, because I'm so, visual. So that's a huge, really, we techno-optimists are thinking AI might very much help us with climate change. Okay, so here's the biggest one that people tend to not get. We used to use, this old technology, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Google. Maybe your grandfather told you about it. So for that, you go in there, you're asking it to go get some information for me. And when people first get into AI, they tend to do the same sort of thing, go get some information, but that's not what it's for. We're having a conversation with it, so treat it like it's a person and remember it's not. It's a computer. Sometimes I feel guilty about asking it to redo something. Do it again, and I'm like, it's, but then I remember, oh, that's right, it's a computer. So how do we frame it? This is like all of cognitive psychology. How do we frame our view of things? And so people are framing all kinds of things, all kinds of different ways. If my students are not taking this seriously, then I try and scare the heck out of them. And then once I scare the heck out of them and they're listening, then I go, look at how exciting this is. That's what I'm trying to do. And so here's the problem we talk about in psychology all the time. People have a map built of the universe, and a lot of their map is built like Google. And now we're in a whole new world where we're having a conversation. AI, Oprah just had a great special, and she had Bill Gates on there. And she said, is this really this big a deal, AI? And he said, it's way bigger invention than the computer or the internet. Those are big. Imagine before the internet, after the internet. Look at the changes. And he's saying this is way bigger. So I think we're doing a disservice to our students, frankly, if we're not teaching them AI proficiency. And I do not need to know how this computer runs. I call Frank for that, right? You can explain how to build one of these. I have no idea, but I know how to use one, and I can't live without it. We can't live in our world without using this. We're already there with AI. So they go to apply for a job or whatever, they need to have that as a skill. So here's the wisdom out in the world. AI is not going to replace people. A lot of times people are afraid of that. It's people with AI that are going to replace people without it, which gets really interesting when you're talking about like visual art. Let's say how does this all play into visual art? They're figuring before too long, and some people would already report this, programmers are 10 times as efficient. But Doomer would say, oh my God, we're going to have 90%, or however the math comes out, 90% unemployment in this occupation. But I'm an optimist. I think we're going to have the same number of programmers, but they're going to get 10 times as much done because there's a bottomless need for programming. We're just going to need more and more stuff, so we'll get more and more out of the same number of programmers. That's how I look at it. My nephew's a programmer. He's got 4 AI agents running through his code at all times, doing like documentation for him and all kinds of stuff. So in my learning objectives in my syllabus, I always put these puppies in there, and then now I've added that one. AI proficiency is one of the main objectives when they leave there. So I model it in class myself by having fun with it. I have every class has 2 or 3 AI assignments, The one they're on now, they're interviewing AI. So they make a 7-question interview, then they tell AI to act like 4 or 5 people they're interested in. So, go out and interview like Taylor Swift and Jesus and Einstein and Beethoven, and it will act like all 4 of those people. And when you do a interview of them, it's just going to answer the questions the way those 4 people would answer them. And then at the end, you say something like, okay, now have an argument. And you watch it happen, then they copy paste that into a Word doc, submit it to Blackboard, bada bing, bada boom. I want them to be playing with it, having fun, doing stuff that they never thought of, and also will blow their minds. Okay, so let's look at planning first. Here's some stuff. Definitely interrupt me anytime and talk about things you've done in the classroom, or quickly we'll turn this into a conversation. I don't want to be one directional. So I've got this notes organizer with all the key concepts for each of my classes. It's like, it's 30 pages and it's got chapter by chapter, all the cool stuff. So what I have is a custom GPT, and I just fed that into it. And now that it's in there, I can do whatever I want. I could say, let's create some quizzes. Let's find a way to teach students this exercises for class that I never would have thought of. I could I could take Unit 7 and show it to the students, and then I had a woman whose English is really weak. She was from Ukraine, so Ukrainian is basically her way of connecting to the world. So I just said, translate Unit 7 into Ukrainian, and it takes it like 10 seconds. It just goes, and runs it through. And then just for the fun of it, to blow their minds, I say, okay, now Mandarin, and it'll just go and do Mandarin. It has no problem with it. It's got well over 200 languages. So then I'll say, what are some, exercises I can do in class? And the thing to do here is I'll say, generate 15 of them, fun, engaging, so forth. You can tell it whatever you want. And then if I don't like any of those 15, I'll just say do 15 more. Typically what will happen is 12 of them will be useless and 3 will be awesome. So there you go. I just got 3 awesome ideas. What do I care about the other 12? Cultural sensitivity, likewise, you can say, here's my situation with my students. And I often tell it this: we have incredible diversity along every dimension. And I say, now what do I do? So it comes up with great ideas. I love doing this, a short answer quiz with blanks in it. And then I give it to them as teams of 3, and they discuss how to fill in those blanks. And they'll come up with different answers, which means now we have an interesting conversation going. But the thing I love that you'll generate the quiz, and then I can titrate it. I can go, okay, now make it more ambiguous, and it'll come back with the same quiz, only more ambiguous, so there's multiple answers per question. So you can alter it per class. So all my finals will be different from last semester, probably different between classes, because it's just so easy to generate this stuff in seconds. Then I say, here's my syllabus. What should I do differently? And it will come up with ideas. I'll describe a specific student situation if it's got, let's say, especially if it has challenges involved in it. And then I'll say, any ideas? What do I do with this? This is basically a companion. I'm treating it like a person, but it's actually a computer. Which is why, we've got AI therapists now. So what do you think? There's quite a few AI therapists. What do you think about that? What would be advantages of an AI? What are the upsides and the downsides? Anybody?
Complete lack of real empathy.
Real empathy would definitely be something we'd be concerned about, right? What else?
People might be more willing to open up about personal issues, knowing that it's not somebody.
Yeah, right. So that could be an advantage. Also, like 100% non-judgmental. What else we got? Upsides, downsides, and these have been around for a while. One of them called Woebot, W-O-E-B-O-T, is kind of leading the industry right now. And I heard this great podcast where they had the founder of the company for 20 minutes and then a user of the program for 20 minutes who uses it as his therapist. So you heard both perspectives on that. What else? Upsides, downsides?
Is it mature enough where, because I've used a bot before, and I think things like this, it wasn't that difficult to get them into a loop, the same continuous loop if I responded the same set of responses.
Right,
It was the
yeah.
same set of answers.
As far as
It
I
was
know,
uninspiring
Yeah.
after a while.
right, as far as I know, this works way better than that. But when you listen to the guy who uses it as his therapist, it's really quite encouraging. And one of the things that there's a couple big advantages. It's inexpensive for the user. And another big thing is it's available 24/7. A human therapist is just not available 24/7. And so, and that one, Wobot, is at a point now where you can't use it unless you get a recommendation from a human therapist. So that's one of their controls they put in place to, keep things reasonable. It's really interesting how they approach it.
So like in that example, does anybody monitor and look at what the responses were?
Yeah, that company is very ethical. They're monitoring everything closely, and they have professional therapists monitoring all this stuff. Yeah, they have a whole crew of like a very large population of therapists they use. Yeah, great question, because there's a lot of them. So some of them, I'm sure, are not being careful about that kind of stuff. I'm sure.
It would also encourage psychosis,
Oh, how so?
because you'd think the chatbot is a real person. It's not.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, how far that goes, I don't know. You probably have to be susceptible to psychosis in the first place. But you could end up in an unhealthy situation where you're relating to a computer. The way we're in a lot of unhealthy situations by relating to somebody online, when it seems like it's a person, we really don't know what's happening there. Sometimes we actually are interacting with a bot online, and sometimes it's a person who's not representing themselves correctly. Yeah, there's a lot of nuances. To me, that's exciting, as you can tell. So what if the human race goes to hell? It's going to be so much fun. What a way to go. What happened to you, human race? You died from nuclear war? No, man, AI got us. It was so interesting. So it'll make good stories when aliens come from other planets. Okay, oh, wait. Maybe I already got the psychosis. Okay, have it play the part. Oh, this is cool. You can just have it be like that student was in the email. I encourage my psychology students, sit at a table with Rogers and Skinner and Freud and just start discussing something. Discuss Kanye's narcissism, and they're all going to have a different way of explaining it. And now argue with each other about it. And now what do you agree with each other about, and so forth. So it's great at playing personas. I got this coming up, and you all can help me with this, which is I've got team projects of 3 people doing a research project all semester. How the heck am I going to choose teams? Am I going to go through the roster and think who? You've done a bunch of team projects, I bet. Have you?
I do have group projects.
Yeah.
But I deploy mostly in Blackboard, which it
Oh, in
can
Blackboard,
randomly
yeah.
pick, or you can give them the ability
Okay.
to enroll themselves in whatever
Yeah.
topic they like.
I'm tempted to have like each team have a talker and a quiet person and what have you. But so I'm gonna, you can ask it, and it'll come up with all. It's great at brainstorming. I am creating a couple new classes. I created one, and we have to do this master syllabus for the curriculum committee. And you can just feed it the master syllabus and say, I've got this new class coming, and I want it to include this. Fill out the master syllabus for me, and it'll do 70% of the work, and then you go in yourself and turn it into what you want it to be.
Can any of these AI technologies, can they fill the blanks if there's a PDF fillable?
That I have not figured out how to do yet. I would love to. So, but when it's in a Word doc, it's a piece of cake. But the thing I have enjoyed about PDFs is, Adobe is so jealous about their intellectual property. They had all these ways of locking us out of their PDFs. So I would put like 4 PDFs into chat and say, combine these for me. And it's as if it was ignoring the Adobe licenses. It would just combine them, no problem. And then I could say, scrape it, turn it into a Word doc, and Chat has,
The output is still the PDF, editable PDF document?
no, it'll become a Word document. Yeah. But, yeah, it gets dicey with PDFs. Yeah. And then that's a case where chat might not do it so well, so you go over to Claude and it does a great job, that kind of thing. So you go to a different engine and it might do a much better job. So, yeah, I have it generate like the first part of a lesson plan, but then I always have way too many things in my lesson plans, way more than we could ever get to. Here's a good example. If it gives you links to videos on the web, you have to check the links. We are the owner of the output. So that's the language they use around the world of AI. We're the owner. Because, you know, it can hallucinate. You guys know what hallucinations are in AI? That's where it thinks something is real for certain, and it's not. So it'll write a paper for you and have 5 references to books, but the books don't exist. Those are hallucinations. And all the models hallucinate. So what they're doing is reducing and reducing, getting that situation better. But the latest ChatGPT is much better. But remember that the AI we're using today is the worst it's ever going to be. Week by week, they just keep coming up with these. I was going along one week enjoying myself, and all the podcasts were talking about that Suno program that creates music. Because it had just come out like days earlier, and all of a sudden I'm on Suno like for hours making music. It's super excellent. So here's some actual applications I've done with grading. My personality class, the students are creating their own personality theory. And so it's a really complicated instructions on how to write the paper. And then I put a rubric in there. Guess who I had write the rubric? ChatGPT wrote a fantastic rubric. I told it what I wanted in there. And I don't know about you guys, but this is where we step back and look at what's the actual goal. I do not ever want to become a good rubric writer. I want to go to Tamara and say, will you please give me a rubric? But then she always said no, so now I go to ChatGPT, and it just, boom, writes a rubric, and that is the perfect example of the kind of thing I don't want to do, and I don't ever want to have to do it or get good at it. So why not have Chat do it? Then I put a sample paper in there that's fabulous and another fabulous one, and then I put the student paper in and say, give me, 200 words of constructive feedback. Then I go through the feedback and the paper, and I morph it, I tailor it for each student. I tailor the feedback. So I figure my feedback takes half as long and is twice as good, roughly speaking. But it's really great. And then I've remember we're having a conversation with this. So I went to AI and I said, hey, is there a way I can do this better? That's a great question to ask it. How could I do this better? And it came back and said, you can give me all the papers. You don't have to give me one at a time. Why did that not occur to me? I don't know. But I'm a human. I'm going to let myself off the hook on that. So then I just fed the whole class in there. Just 10 seconds each. It just went through and graded them all.
So you get the output for each paper?
Each paper with a grade, with feedback specific to that paper. What it was started to do, though, some of it was a little too cookie cutter, like with the therapist. And Frank was saying, can it get into like producing the same output? It starts to lose its meaning. So there was some of that, but I'm doing half the tailoring myself. So yeah, that's how I address that. One thing I love about AI is more and more and more it's showing us how precious humans are. It keeps highlighting how amazing humans are. So the question of consciousness has come up. Are these things becoming conscious in themselves? It forces us to ask the question, what is consciousness? And what could be more fun than that? Wondering what the heck consciousness is. I got no idea. I'll go talk to the philosophy department. Oh, wait, you know what consciousness is. So enhance assessment, go through a student's work, look for the following things. Compare subject grade, multiple choice, or ask, oh, this is great. After I use Chat to create a test, then I turn around, hand the test to Chat, and ask it to take it. So the first time I did that, it took the test and it came up with answers that allowed me to see that my wording was culturally insensitive. I was missing that somebody might be coming from another angle, but I didn't realize it until I asked chat to take the test. And it took it and I went, oh, if English isn't your first language, wow, that could get confusing. So then I just changed the test. It's fun too, because after I create the test, I give it to chat and I'm like, oh, let's see what happens here. Is it going to be able to do this test? And part of our shift in the speed at which things are changing, I don't know if all you know, but ChatGPT can ace the LSATs, the MCATs, the GREs, you name it, any kind of standardized tests. This puppy can just do way better than 90% of the humans. So that creates an interesting question. So I did this the other day. I had such a complicated email and I was not looking forward to organizing it. And it had like 6 or 7 things in it and a whole bunch of people I was sending it to in different roles. And then I said, make me look good. Ask for input from the other people. And then after you make this email, let me know again, is there something else I should add? Is there some other way I should think of it or I should do it? That kind of thing. Because you're having a conversation with it. And man, did it write a great email. I almost just could take it and send it the way it was. It took very little tailoring on my part. Guess what? I don't want to have to learn to be good at writing emails. I don't want to write emails. I don't want to write proposals. I want to do the thing for the proposal, right? Like our 10-year proposal. I didn't want to write that thing. I want to do the proposal of the project, right? That's where the value is, me doing the project. Who cares about the proposal? So I had it recreate my professional development and self-assessment, and then they changed the form. So I had it all rewritten, and it was wonderful and lovely, but they changed the form, and so I had to do it again from scratch. But next time they do it. And then this, this pesky board policy 6080, that's the one where you have to have 22 things in your syllabus. There comes from on high that we have to have 22 specific things. Our secretary went through 170 syllabuses and made sure all of them had all 22 items, and then put in another column, yes, 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 no, and then she communicates with the professors, right? But then the dean, after she just got done doing all that, the dean sent her a chart, sent her a document and said, okay, now I need you to go through again and tell me what page each of those items is on. So now she's got to go through 170 more syllabuses. And I'm like, no, this is not good. So then I gave the dean's document, 6080, and a syllabus to ChatGPT, and I just said, fill this out for me, will you? And it came back and filled it out. There's the document. Page number, let's have the page number now. That just about pissed me off, but I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I can have them later if I get tenure right. Shelley, then I can have an opinion. Okay, so here's the document that came, and it's like, page number, what do you need that for? So then I gave it to chat, and it did this. It got this. Yes, it's got it. It's on page 1 to 2. It filled out the whole thing. It takes it, you know how this goes. It takes it 12 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. And then it invented a 4th column and put it in there without me asking. And it put in there the contents of the actual field. So number 1, that blew my mind. Number 2, that's exciting. I mean, I didn't even think of that, and it did it. Number 3, that's autonomous. It did it on its own. It made that decision. Autonomy is the thing that's coming to fruition more and more, and it's certainly one of the ones we're excited about and worried about. You could tell an AI in the morning, go find a job for me. It'll be all over the web all day long. At 3:30, it pings you and says, oh, look what I found. That's a good thing. Autonomous, when it comes to autonomous weapons, and countries all over the world are working on them right now. You send the weapon after a target, you let it go, and it does whatever it needs to do to get to that target and kill it or whatever. Autonomous can be a big issue. So this is what I did with my tender proposal. I brainstormed 20 minutes. Sat down with the dean, 20 minutes more, took all those things and threw it into ChatGPT and said, write this proposal. Brainstorm 30 ideas of other things to consider. That took it 20 seconds. Then I did it twice in ChatGPT and got very different results. I put it over in Claude. I had all three of them and I put them next to each other and pulled out the parts I wanted. So that's how I tailored it. So it took me quite a while. It took me like, I don't know, almost three hours, probably.
You couldn't have just written the proposal for him?
Oh, I could. Oh no, knowing me, it would have taken 7 or 8 probably. Yeah, it would have taken a lot. There's a lot of stuff in my proposal, but also organizing it really well. There's a quality issue also. That's a great question though. Yeah, so then this is one of my faves, writing letters of recommendation, which you've gotten to know me enough in these last 5 minutes to know. I hate that stuff. I do not want to be good at writing letters of recommendation. I don't want to even do it. But people need it. Students need it. Colleague Antigone, who just got like Professor of the Year, she asked me for a letter. And I got her resume, a list of stuff she'd done out in the regular world. I've known her for many years. And then I asked her what she wanted. So I put all those in there, and it kicked out a fantastic letter. That took me, editing that took 20 minutes probably, because I had to take out stuff that I didn't know about her, because it's a letter from me. I'm not leaving stuff in there that I don't even know. And then I had to change it into a tone that's mine. And that was the main thing when I was editing it. So basically it became my letter. So now we've got an issue. What is creativity and how do we know what's mine and what isn't mine? So in teaching students the responsible use of AI, I give this example. When we write a document, and you guys tell me if you would be so kind, let's say we write a document, we use Word. Is that cheating? It's doing spelling for us. It's correcting grammar. Anybody think that's cheating? Using Word? We do it all the time, right? It's just a convenience. Okay. What if we have ChatGPT write an assignment for a philosophy class and then copy paste it in there and submit it to Blackboard? Is that cheating? I'm going to go with a yes on that. That is definitely cheating. So now there's an entire continuum in between. And to me, this is a great opportunity to teach students to own their own education. It's up to them to figure out, where is the educational stuff in here? How do I use this in a way that helps my education? As far as I'm concerned, it is definitely not my job to be a police officer and figure out if they're cheating. It's their job to be good at educating themselves and figure out how to use it optimally. And then I guide them in that. So I'm trying to teach them responsible use of AI. Internal locus control just means I'm in the driver's seat. It's a concept from psychology. So I teach this day one. They're in charge of their education. It is not the library's job to educate them. It's not my job to educate them. It's their job to educate themselves, and we are resources. I'm a resource, and I can't wait to help them. But I'm not in charge of it. And so it's even weird when they write an email and they go, I haven't done the assignments. I'm sorry. They're apologizing to me. But I have to say to them, why are you apologizing to me? It's your education. So, and then my health club analogy is, what if you buy a membership to a health club? Does that make you healthy? Not if you don't go and do the work, right? What if you buy a health club membership and then pay somebody to lift the weights for you? And it's the same thing here. If you use AI to do your thinking for you, you're just going to end up, with no education. You're going to end up in trouble. And in my Blackboard, I've got these cool images I used ideogram to generate. One of them, it'll be like a path that says degree, and it ends in a godforsaken wasteland. And then there's a path that says education, and ends in this beautiful city with all this life and color and everything. So that kind of stuff. So then I use this as a critical thinking exercise, which is good for all these things. Teaching them to shift paradigms, effective use, and critical thinking. How do we pull this one together? So painting, very original, right? Somebody is a painter, they're using paint and a canvas. What about if I go into ideogram and I take a pattern, I have it create a picture and then I paste it like I do into my newsletter. What kind of creativity is that? How much creativity is in there? Huh. Like, let me show you, let's see if I have these. There you go. I created these for the Olympics. I was really lucky. I just got to go to the Olympics. And I said, create something that's got a heart in it with the colors of the French flag. Paris somewhere, 2024 somewhere, a weightlifting theme. And it came back with a bunch of stuff. It probably took me 40 minutes going back and forth to get this design I like. So it's 40 minutes of work on my part to generate this, but I can't paint or draw or any of those things. So without it, I can't do any of this, right? And look, it even put red, white, and blue on the weights. So each one of these designs, I probably spent a delightful, fun-filled 40 minutes generating it. Like here's another one. I said, let's do a ping pong theme, and then there's women playing ping pong. It made the design have the texture of a ping pong paddle. So there's the red, white, and blue. There's the French flag up there. So then I made like just a ton of these, and I sent them off to a shirt making company, and I made my own T-shirts. And I designed one, the little pattern on the front, the big one on the back. I made the shirt. Then I said to my students, when I was in Paris, I was proud of those designs. And half the time I said, I made the design. The other half of the time I said, I made it with AI to test my own emotional reaction. What did I feel more comfortable with? Saying it's mine or saying it's mine plus AI? And then I was asking my students, what do you think? And it's a great exercise in critical thinking. We had a discussion for like 20 minutes trying to piece this together and pull it apart. And some people's friends or they themselves are, let's say, painters or visual artists, and they're freaking out because of AI. And what I'm saying is we're in this world now, so pick it up and use it and figure out a way to integrate it into your life. And then Samir, who's a great participator, he goes, that's totally your design because you are the art director. You just did everything. You pulled everything together. You're the art director. It's your design. So that was good for my self-esteem. Big question though, art, music, intellectual stuff, writing, everywhere we turn this question is what's the story? So if you ask yourself what's the goal, it's like I was saying, I don't want to write grant proposals. I care a little bit if I can create classroom exercises, but the main thing is doing them in class. So once you step back and say, what's the goal, you can figure out what's an appropriate use of AI. So then at Triton, we've got everyone should get on the AI distribution list. I'm trying to get a committee going. That turns out to be really hard. And then have an AI student club. And then Shelley's got AI resources in Blackboard in their own holding area. So you can go there for that. And then there's a bunch of presentations I've done at kickoffs and what have you. And the library's got their own like excellent path they're on to gear up students for AI. They're doing a directly at students approach. And then there's my email. So here's 5 of my favorite podcasts. I probably listen to 2 podcasts on average per day about AI. And there's just so much interesting stuff unfolding. These guys are, and I'll be happy to send you this PowerPoint. These guys is 2 goofballs from Australia, and they're really fun to listen to. And they do K through 12, but their ideas are very helpful. This one is sociology, philosophy, ethics. How's it affecting our culture in that sense? This is pure education, and about almost all the episodes are AI related. This guy does news, what's happened recently, and TED, of course, they come up with a wide variety of perspectives. I did that with ideogram. I gave a talk over at Highland Community College. And so I told it, generate, here's their, this is not their actual mascot. I just said, give me a profile of a light orange mountain lion. And then here's their school colors. And notice how AI is not that good at putting the eyes in the correct direction. Sometimes it'll put extra fingers and stuff.
Yeah,
And then-
fingers are bad.
Yeah, extra fingers, it can get really scary, some of the stuff it does. So, I mean, if you're gonna have surgery done, you definitely want robot assisted. Like, no doubt about it. From all the doctors that I talked to, you totally want the surgeon to have a robot helping them. They never make mistakes. They're totally steady and they've got forearms. But then the question is, what happens in what areas is it okay for AI to make mistakes? And we're in charge of the output. This is begging the question, what is artificial? And for that matter, what is intelligence? So once again, I gave the credit. I think we need to step back. One of these guys, this guy, had a really sore throat one week. So he trained 11 labs, which is the leader in doing voices, text to voice. He trained 11 labs on his voice, including inflections and everything. And he just handed his transcript to 11 labs, and it did the podcast for him. It spoke the podcast in a way you could not tell if it was him or 11 labs. So what he did is he goes, I'm handing it over to 11 labs now, which he did. It did the podcast. Then at the end, he goes, okay, we're back to the real me. This is the kind of thing we have to think about. I think it's super important because what's real and what isn't. And when we enter a world where we actually don't know what's real, that's a serious place to be. So it's up to us, I think, to, let's see if this one works. Okay, so AI or real?
Real.
Real. Oh, it's not letting us in. It's gonna make me sign on. I gotta go. Oh, what did I just hit? I hit a button that showed all kinds of results. Didn't I see a whole bunch a second ago? Now the question is, will it let me in? I don't have to subscribe because I'm a teacher at Triton and we get free New York Times. I don't know if all y'all knew that. Come on. Come on, where are you? Can you believe it's taking this long? I wonder if it hit the
Check
firewall.
the junk.
It always comes in the regular. There, that sounds like it. What the heck? Oh my, I didn't even know where I was. Okay, so I'm sorry I couldn't help myself. I talk so much. What kind of things are you doing? What kind of questions you have? What's the story? What's the scoop?
I just have a general question, because
Yeah.
I know there's the free version of like ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and then there's the paid version. Is it the same with like Suno.ai and Ideogram?
Yeah, Sono you can get 10 free songs a day, last time I checked. And I think it's $10 a month and then it's unlimited and you get some more features. One thing I love in Suno is I'll go steal some lyrics from somewhere, like I'll go to Tennyson or Wordsworth or some ancient poet and just copy part of their poem and put it in there and say, make a heavy metal song out of this. It's really cool. It's really cool. So you can do like 10 a day for free on Suno. Ideogram, there's you can do it unlimited for free. Might be a limited number of pictures, but anyway, same thing. And then you get extra features if you go with the paid version. Like you can upload your own pictures and work from there, kind of a thing. That sort of. And then the free version of ChatGPT, like my students need to create an interview like I showed you and put it in here. On the free version, you can just copy paste it. On the pay version, you've got the paperclip and you can attach files. But the big thing about the pay version is you've got your own GPTs you can make. So I've made a whole bunch of custom GPTs. This is a game I'm working on that's going to teach them to critical thinking, to not take the easy way out logically. And then this one is where various famous psychologists discuss things. This one translates things into, if I said, give me unit 7 in Spanish, it should grab unit 7 and go. See, it takes all the key concepts. That's what I have in my notes organizer. And then, unless you'd rather do manager. So I've got all kinds of, my friends and I, we play games at night on Zoom with each other. And we created one in here somewhere called, Eat to Live. And there you just tell it what your goal is with nutrition. Let's say you want to reduce swelling or something. You tell it that, and it kicks out a whole bunch of recipes and stuff you could use. There's one out here too where you can tell it what's in your fridge. And there's another one you can take a picture of what's in your fridge, and it'll come back and tell you, oh, by the way, you might want to consider making this, given what you've got. So when you go to explore GPTs, you've got a search, and then you can go out here, and the one I used for my t-shirts, I went for Art Nouveau generators. And there's a bunch of them that other people have created and then put out on the open market, just like the App Store. They're not, you can't sell them and make money yet. So then I just start searching through these, and it'll make some kind of Art Nouveau. Although sometimes on this, so if we start a chat, and what should we make an Art Nouveau picture of?
What are you looking for?
Something we're going to make an Art Nouveau picture of.
Mitochondria.
Mitochondria. But I don't know how to spell it, but I don't think I can.
MITOCHOND. You got it.
No kidding. Oh, so now it's saying it created a joke for us. Who knows why? And
CH.
it'll figure out I misspelled it. And then now this, compared to some other engines, is extremely slow. That's its idea of an Art Nouveau version of mitochondria.
Fair enough.
So it grabs these images and formula, the component parts that makes to satisfy the request that you
Yeah.
get. Does it make sure that it's not copyrighted
Sort of. There's a zillion lawsuits about that because it's trained on other people's art. To me, that's sort of meaningless because that's like saying I put an eyedropper that had my art in it in Lake Michigan, because the amount of data is so staggering that so what if everybody's art is out there? It's not really grabbing people's stuff and violating their copyright, let's say. It's not really doing it that way, but it is training on their art. And so there's the lawsuit, there's the problem. That's why they're in court. But like one of the things they're looking at in music is where musicians would sign up with the AI company, and then they would get a certain amount of residuals back when something comes out that's like their art. Or in that case, you could go into Suno and say, generate a Taylor Swift song for me, and she would make money off that. Right now, if you do that, it's going to say, I can't do that. It'll stop you from doing a real person. So then you can try and trick it and spell Taylor Swift incorrectly and see if you can get past the censor. You know, that's always fun to try and do that. I doubt you're gonna do it in the case of Taylor Swift. They probably have everything locked down. But, so yeah, so the question is, where do we draw the line? And it comes back, and I think that's just a great discussion in terms of critical thinking. Where do we draw the line? What is somebody's art and what isn't?
Jim, previously, if
Yeah.
I heard you correctly, you said 170 syllabi that you,
Yeah, for our department, yeah.
how did
she
you
has-
do that? 100, I don't think that's the capacity.
I didn't
That it can
do.
take 170 documents.
Oh, no, it's not big enough, and that's what we call a context window. So it doesn't have big enough context window to have all those. What I put all of in was my class's papers. The syllabi, I just taught our secretary how to use it, and she is still doing it the old way. So there's a issue in my mind, how do we get people to accept? She could save a ton of time. So one thing I do is I take other syllabi and I just run it through my engine because it takes me no time to do it. So I've helped her in that way a little bit. And my own syllabi, when I run those through, it tells me what's not right with it. So by the time I send it to her, it's all clean. Yeah. No, I think the whole department should be using it. One member of our department is like, she doesn't want her syllabi going out into the training database. And my response is, what? Why wouldn't you want that? I don't get it. Even if it took your actual syllabus and gave it to some other professor and they used it for their students, aren't you serving those students? Don't you want to serve everybody? Because that's my take. I mean, we're educators. We don't have to think about silly things like making money and that sort of thing. We know we're not going to do that, right? We need to give up that fight.
It's a long time ago.
Long time ago. Gave that up long time ago. Here's my laugh companion where I'll make a joke about, let's say a joke from Brian Regan. It's got two of my favorite comedians in here.
Jim, what do you think the advantage is of creating your own GPTs as opposed to just putting a prompt into ChatGPT?
Right. So I've loaded all kinds of stuff into these and told it how to behave. And when you're creating these, you're doing it with a conversation. So if we go here, I don't know why this slows down, but if I go create.
So have you ever tried to compare the response you would get back from your specific GPT as opposed to a
No.
general response?
No, that would be great. I should try that. But the thing is, I've done so much training on each of them, I couldn't really do a comparison. But here, see, it says, hi, I'll help you build a new GPT. And so you just start talking to it. I want one that's going to do the following things. Then what it does is it creates it. Well, first what it does is say, let's name it. It'll name it and say, how's that name? Then it makes a logo for it, an image. Then it'll say, let's try it. You come over here and try it and go, hey, how did it work? And then you say, I need more of this and less of that. And you morph it into what you want it to be. The other thing is I can load all kinds of documents in there and all kinds of materials. So it's got background that I want it to have. And I can say only work off the stuff I'm giving you, which keeps it from going. In psychology, that's super important with a lot of what I do, because if I let it go out into the world of psychology, it's going to touch on 50 different perspectives that we never have time to get to in the semester. So I have to limit it to what we're doing. And this allows me to really control that piece of it. Yeah, it's
Jim,
really cool.
Maybe I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has there been any state or local or even Triton-based legislation on using it for grading?
For grading?
Yeah, because you
Oh.
said you use it to grade the student papers. Has
Oh.
there been any policy decisions made on that?
Not here. I mean, I'm always trying to do anything I can to get us in the direction of an AI policy. But I don't know, last time I talked to Susan Campos, she said we're not ready for that kind of. I was just so busy doing other stuff. She and I talked like 40 minutes about AI.
Do the students know that you're doing that?
That
Oh,
was my question.
no, probably not.
But eventually, you will have to go over everything, so you have
Oh, yeah.
personalized it. It's your work.
Oh, we
Even though
own
you
the
got
output.
initial extraction of what they wrote.
Yeah, we own the output. Just like when I write the recommendation letters or or the tenure project thing, it's my project, I'm responsible for it, just like if our secretary uses the thing and runs the syllabi through it, when she sends the syllabus to the dean and says, this syllabus is good, her name is on that. So you gotta be careful not to hand it to ChatGPT, but I don't think my students know that, but they know all kinds of stuff I'm using it for because I'm constantly bringing it up and we work together. How do we use this responsibly, but more importantly, how do we use it effectively?
Because if that becomes standard, we're gonna be in a situation where people are gonna write for ChatGPT.
They won't be able to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, you can. You definitely can.
It'll be way ahead of them.
I don't think so.
Well, it will.
You can, if there becomes a standardized algorithm of what ChatGPT looks for, it will be very easy to simply write for ChatGPT.
Yeah, there won't be a standardized algorithm though. Everything's too complex, first of all, but also
No, it's not. It's not too complex. I train AI bots, and they're very, very pattern oriented.
Okay.
They are not infinitely complex. If you use certain trigger words which can be discerned, it will give it a certain evaluation. So students will simply learn to write for ChatGPT.
Okay, and how do you know what those trigger words are?
This is $1 billion industry. You don't think somebody is going to play with the AI bot and feed it 1 million prompts and give it a
I don't know what you mean. Who would have the resources to do that?
educational
Not a-
things, people that are.
I'm confused about what's got what, but if I'm doing my own GPT and there are keywords, like you're
Right.
saying, where you can trick the GPT, I'm just going to put them all into my own custom GPT.
But why would you? What's the word I'm looking for? Not export, outsource. Your evaluation, like it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
Because it increases the quality and halves the time.
so why would you think it could do better than you at judging your own assignments that you came up with?
Oh, it's not that it's better than me, it's that the two of us together are better than me.
But if it's doing an evaluation where it's quote unquote reading the text,
Yeah.
and then you're responding to that,
I'm-
you are then evaluating what it comes up with. You're not doing the primary evaluation. And I think students should be informed of that. I mean, like if I wouldn't want to take that class. I wouldn't want to.
Well, I could see consistency of grading would be a plus, right? I mean,
Consistency, how so?
you mean the chat would be consistent.
Oh,
No,
it might be, that might be an advantage of it, is that what you're saying? It's consistency? Could be. Yeah, but I mean, I own the feedback, so by the time I've written the feedback in Blackboard, sent it to the customer, I own it. So I think a
So
lot of.
you're not just letting it grade, spitting it out.
Oh, no, but
It's providing a basis for you to then do your
Yeah.
grading on top of that.
so errors and let's say less than ideal, errors and also less than ideal. These come from a lot of places, so they come from, a GPT, and they also come from, let's say I hire an assistant, also they would have errors, make errors and be a problem. And then also me, I make errors and I have problems and what have you. And so does, this ancient technology also has issues. So I think it doesn't seem different from those. They seem like they all make errors and they all have problems.
No, I think that's a class difference of error. That's because you're now automating and using this data to then in turn feed the future chatbots that are going to create a standard that are going to, without any human input necessarily, say that this is the standard essay. There'll be one writing style that is based on whatever the dominant AI model is. That's very different from an assistant having, because if an assistant makes an error, that's localized. It doesn't then get fed back into the system.
For me, the GPT doing what you're saying, affecting a standard that affects other people, what we're talking about there is a matter of scale. So the stuff I do here is not going to affect the entire world of education. That's how I look at it.
Right, but collectively, everybody who's using this.
Oh, like if people left them, are using ChatGPT, for instance, then evaluation is going to become real ChatGPT. It's going to become ChatGPT-ish. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
but if
interesting.
an assignment is submitted and the student used ChatGPT, can you tell that?
No, you can think you can, but even if you use even if you use generative AI to try and detect generative AI,
Yeah.
the research says no way, there's no way you can do it. And if you use a human to try and detect it, also the research says forget about it. And so what we need to do is we get what I consider to be the excitement of completely reinventing how we teach, how we assess. All that stuff's got to change. So I have non-gradable essay exams all semester, and then students take those home and do those, and if they want to use chat for that, that's fine, but they're not going to learn anything. Then when they get to the final, it's an essay exam in class with an actual pencil. So, that's one way I redesign it to try
I
and.
guess in another sense, and sitting there thinking about it, is there that much of a difference between what you just described and now I want to go for a certification test and
Yeah.
I'm going to take a practice test and I'm looking for answers to pass this darn test.
Yeah, those are really
You know.
standardized. So, see, I love this because it brings up all these questions so that we can figure out where the weak spots are. Like, there could be an exposure there where you're describing it. We figure those out and redesign this thing so it works for everybody. That's like a super interesting engineering challenge in my mind.
But Jim, I also want to say, for example, so essay-based evaluations, sure, that's a tricky issue. I'm not much familiar with it. Because in hardcore sciences,
Yeah,
then you have, let's say, a lab
right.
alone would have 50 different evaluations, questions. These technologies, instead of me going over 24 students' correct answers, if the system can spot incorrect answers for me, I can use that time to give better feedback.
Right. It could certainly,
So,
if there's,
there is a benefit.
if there's a real answer, like there's one answer that's correct.
So again,
If there's one answer that's correct, you're in great shape because it's going to go through nothing flat and find out where they are. And then you can go as a human and go in and say, oh, what do I do with this specific student and that specific concept? Yeah.
oh,
So,
I wish life was that easy
But
with the
that
Scantron.
technology existed 70 years ago. It was called Scantron.
yeah, there you go. And so in this,
Things are not that easy that you cannot test everything on a Scantron.
Right, but I'm saying if there's one definite right answer.
yeah,
I mean, what the supposedly new thing is that it can evaluate essays. If you want a simple hack of this, all you have to do is you can get an infinite loop where the GPT never knows when something's good enough because it can't make qualitative assessments like that. So you can ask it, is this finished? And it will say yes, but you can also do this, this, and this. So it's programmed to always improve. So it will always sort of spit out criticism, and that's very worrying in an assessment of student writing. Right? So
Okay.
it's programmed to necessarily say this could be better. But I
right.
mean, if an instructor would do that, that would be out of the pale. If you're just sort of programmed to always find fault with these things, it doesn't really have a qualitative function.
Right.
It can only respond to instruction.
I think that's a great gray area that we really need to pay attention to. What I'm wondering is, what would you do about that?
I wouldn't use it for multi-instance.
Oh, okay. And so it's as if the world, and this is how I see it, and maybe it's because I listened to 2 podcasts a day, but for me, here's the world of AI. It's basically the whole world. And if we're not going to be using it directly, we're in this zone, and the entire rest of the world is like, we're cut off from it. So to me, the question is, how can we integrate it? That's the only question. There's no such thing as not incorporating it. So how do we integrate it, and how do we teach students to do it? But this is the kind of question where we figure out how do we integrate it, because you're bringing up all these difficult conflict gray areas, and those are the ones we got to solve. We got to figure out what are we going to do about that.
Well, there's a sharp distinction between generative and evaluative. No one ever claimed it has evaluative capabilities. You can, use it to help you generate ideas, brainstorm, change phrases around.
Yeah.
I do that all the time, but nowhere in the world did they ever say, oh, this is going to be able to perform evaluations, make qualitative judgments.
Yeah.
That's a completely different function.
Right. And I would say it's getting better and better at it every day.
No, it can't do it, period. You can, I can show you what you can do with it, because it can't make, the only qualitative assessment it can make is based on its training. So it's not a general intelligence that they're claiming it is, that it can just sort of say this is better in general.
Yeah.
That's why it hallucinates, because it doesn't know the difference between true and false. All you can say is based on these criteria,
Right.
do that.
And the patterns, it's finding the next most likely word.
But I
what
think
have you.
that's why you then go over it yourself and read through it. And,
Yeah,
So
it's-
if you, based on, I mean, I'm assuming you're saying, when you're asking it to grade, you're saying you're giving it some kind of criteria that it has to look for to
Oh,
grade this.
big time.
Yeah,
A lot of
and then
criteria.
it's pointing it out to you, but then you're reading it for a qualitative assessment, right?
Yeah, it's my assistant. It's not my grader.
But if
I'm
it's
the
passing
grader.
MCAT and LSAT, I don't know if it's hallucinating that much.
Yeah,
It has quite a bit of
it
facts.
creates an issue. So
Like a